Hi, I'm Salvation, and in this video I want to talk about a game called Transistor. As I said in my last video, I'm a bit burnt out on PoE at the moment and decided to go through some games that I had in my Steam library. The first one was Transistor, which is a game released in 2014 by Supergiant Games, which are also known for Bastion. Transistor is described as an action RPG with a futuristic setting by the developer, but to say this right off the bat, it's not a classic ARPG by any means, as there is no loot, no quests, and the combat works in a very different way. The graphical presentation of Transistor is also pretty outstanding. It uses hand-drawn, pre-rendered style for the backgrounds of the levels and looks absolutely stunning in my book. I really like the colorful and stylish presentation of the art style they went for. Another thing about this game that can only be described as stunning is the soundtrack and the narrator. Both are really amazing and set the atmosphere for the game.
Hi. You turned left. Thought we were gonna skip town. We're going back there. You met these things. They do not have a sense of humor. They will track you down, wipe you out, and take whatever's left of me back to those 2-bit Camerata pieces of trash. Look, whatever you're thinking, do me a favor. Don't let me go.
When you start the game, it drops you right in. There's no tutorial or intro of any kind, except for some helpful pop-ups that will tell you about key bindings. There isn't even a main menu. And at first glance it looks pretty run-of-the-mill. You can walk with clicking or WASD keys and have 4 ability slots bound to 1 to 4 keys. But in the second fight that you encounter, you will get introduced to the outstanding feature of this game, the turn system in combat. You can basically pause the game and plan your moves out, like planning where to walk and how to attack when you get there. Each action costs time that fills up a bar. Once you have everything planned out, you hit the spacebar again to set it off. The planned actions are played out incredibly fast then, giving most mobs little time to react. After that, all your abilities are on cooldown and you have to evade attacks until you can use them again. You can then choose to take another turn or fight the remaining mobs in real time. So you can play this in a more classic way by not using the turn if you desire so. I found the turn feature really cool and used it all the time, but for some smaller encounters I just went with the real-time combat to finish it fast. The skill system may seem pretty straightforward at first, but as you level up you gain more skills and upgrades and have to choose between different options. You can not only put the different skills on your action bar, but you can use every skill in 3 different ways. To describe this in Path of Exile terms, each skill can be used as a skill it is, a support gem for other skills, or as a passive aura. You have 2 links on each skill that can be used to augment them with supporting skills that will change how the active skill works. Using a skill in any of those ways costs memory depending on how powerful the skill is, so you have to balance your loadout with that restriction in mind. For example, you can use a ping skill that costs 1 memory on its own as a fast shooting mid-ranged attack, support any other skill with it to become faster and use less time during the turn phase, or use it as a passive that will grant you more time when taking a turn. The load skill costs 3 memory and will spawn an explosive payload when used on its own. If you use it as support, it will grant other skills the ability to deal AoE explosion damage or spawn payloads along their paths. As a passive, it will just spawn explosive packages every 5 seconds wherever you stand. This system is really neat and allows for lots of very different playstyles, and it can take some time to figure out what works best for you. You start with 1 support slot for each of your abilities, and as you level up you are presented with a choice to unlock the second slot for each ability, upgrade the overall memory, or unlocking up to 4 passive slots. You also often get to choose between different skills or functions as they are called in Transistor. As I said earlier, there are no quests and no loot. You only gain new abilities by leveling up, and the whole game is basically the quest to find out what happened to your character, your talking transistor sword, and the city you live in. The game does not shove the story in your face. To really figure out, you have to read memory fragments of the functions you gain for level ups and terminals that are scattered around the city, as well as listening to the narrator that is your talking sword. Without any spoilers, I can say that the story is really a work of art, especially if you are like me and love cyberpunkish settings and stories. There are also side areas, or better said, one side area that is kind of a hub. You will encounter backdoors during the game to enter this hub. You can do some challenge levels from there that will also give you XP to level up a bit more, and they also unlock music tracks to be listened to in this hub. I finished the story playthrough in about 5 hours without doing all the side content. So what would there be left to do? Firstly, there is the limiter system. With that system you can make the game harder while you play. It's a bit like map mods in PoE. It makes mobs harder or gives them new abilities or limits your abilities, and you can pick and choose which limiters you want to have active. Playing with limiters will give you XP bonuses and achievements, and are a way to spice up the game on a second playthrough, or if you just feel like it's too easy without them. There are 10 different limiters and you unlock them by leveling up, just like you do with the functions. If you dare so, you can turn on all limiters at the same time for a really hard game. Once you finish the game for the first time, there is also the Recursion Mode, which is more or less the second difficulty, starting you out with all the levels and unlocks you have in a new game. Overall, I think that the replayability isn't all that high, but the game is totally worth a buy even for one playthrough if you like action RPGs and sci-fi cyberpunk settings. The art style, music, voice acting, combat mechanics and customization options in the skill system are all on point and pretty much perfect. It's not a game you will play forever and over like Path of Exile, but it's an experience I would recommend to anyone that likes the setting and is looking for a game to play while he is burnt out on Path of Exile. The game currently costs 18.99 euros on Steam, but you can buy it from Steam key selling pages for as low as 6 euro. I hope you enjoyed the video, let me know what you think in the comments, and I hope to see you again in my next video.